Not on whether or not Joe Biden stumbles over things or has a stutter. I mean, sometimes I can't even remember my kids' names because I'm so tired.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president. Oh! But I think she's not qualified to be president. Oh! Let's start there. Number one. The fact is that...
And I think President Obama understands this, that if he is aggressively seen as trying to push Joe Biden aside, it could actually backfire and make Joe Biden dig in even more.
Fallout from the Joe Biden big boy press conference, and some people are very happy with his performance, others not so much. But we've got reaction from Ron Klain. Remember this guy? The former chief of staff swung by over there on Morning Joe and had a conversation with him saying that Joe did great. He's doing a great job. And this is what we expected yesterday in the aftermath of the presser, saying that they were going to say, oh, Joe Biden waxed poetic for 50 minutes about foreign policy. And he showed total command of the issues and blah, blah, blah. And here it is. They're all starting it. So there is a mutiny that continues afoot, but Ron Klain is here explaining why Joe is amazing.
Finally, Ron, the national polls we looked at that are head-to-head, neck and neck within the margin of error the last 2 days do show some strength for President Biden. There have been questions and concerns since the debate about the battleground state polls. We should point out he's still running effectively within the margin of error in the states that really will decide the election, which are Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. So what can you tell voters about what you all see happening inside those battleground states?
Look, it's a close election. I said that a year ago. I said it would be a very close election right till the very end. It's going to be a close election right till the very end. And I agree, it's close in those states, close in Pennsylvania, close in Michigan, close in Wisconsin. He was in Wisconsin recently. He's going out to Michigan, and he obviously campaigns in Pennsylvania regularly. And we're going to continue to fight hard in those states. And I think Joe Biden is uniquely suited to those states. He has identified with working people. He has the support of the auto workers, which are critical in those states. And he's brought manufacturing jobs back to those states. After decades, those states losing manufacturing jobs is on the increase, industrial heartland of our country for the first time in a long time, thanks to the policies that President Biden has put in place, his advocacy for working people. So I think the man from Scranton is the right person to take on the man from Mar-a-Lago. I think this is the contrast we want in this race. I think it's a contrast that's going to inure to Joe Biden's benefit. And in the end, he will win those 3 states as he did in 2020 and, win other states as well, of course.
Now, as we are watching the fallout from the big boy presser and other things, we're seeing some new reports that some polls are actually looking pretty dang good for Joe. And this is interesting stuff. So as we watch polls swing back and forth, we know that the Democrats are always going to be Democrats. They're throwing a hissy fit right now because that's what they do, but they'll get over it and they'll fall back in line. They don't really care about the candidate, all right? They're just doing the Fetterman model with Joe Biden. They don't care. So you can see this came out from NPR, PBS. Drudge calls this an A+ poll, so take it for what it's worth, but check this out. Biden is now back up +2 percentage points. Yeah, he's over Trump. Says if November election for president were held today, who would you support for candidate? If undecided, you had to vote today. 50-48. They say Biden wins. Amazing. Democrats love brain dead leaders. Incredible. I told you, Joe Biden is representative of the Democrats. They're like, oh gosh, his logic matches mine. We're like twins. So they love the guy. So among registered voters nationally, including leaners, Biden receives 50-48%. Yeah, we'll see. Now, 2% are undecided. Biden and Trump were tied 49-49. So the debate has made Joe better. Joe's going up. It's great. This is good news for Joe. He should stay in the race for sure. Trump is 43 and Biden 42 are competitive among registered voters. If you throw in the other candidates, Kennedy, West, Jill Stein, Oliver, Trump, all the things. Among those who say they definitely plan to vote, they're tied. It's tied, man. It's so close. They say the majority believes Biden has the character. Biden viewed as lacking the mental fitness. Nearly 2 in 3 Americans, 64%, including 38% of Democrats and 35% of Biden supporters, do not think Biden has the mental fitness to serve as the president, but they'll vote for him anyways, all day. So over 1/3 of the party thinks Joe Biden is demented, but Joe Biden's going to win the election. Okay, what they say, it's their poll, I don't know. Nearly 6 in 10 think Trump will win. Neither Trump nor Biden should be on the ballot, they say, and blah, blah, blah. Half of Americans associate Project 2025 with Trump, thanks to their propaganda. More registered voters plan to vote for Biden. So they're going to have to get out the vote. They're going to do everything they can, right, to rig it. We got Shanna Bellows, we got Jocelyn Benson, we got Crazy Eyes Griswold, all the cheating secretaries of states who already tried to throw him off the ballot or who are having their presumptive presumptive validity of signature requirements and all the things. Yeah, that's where we're at. It's going to be close, my friends. So again, they're going to limp him through. They're just going to say Americans don't care. Just limp him through. We've had old presidents before. We've had Reagan, or we've had other presidents who've been in comas for months. So who cares? And they'll just keep limping on. And every time he comes back out and says something like Vice President Trump or the president of Ukraine, Putin, it's just a nitpick. Leave him alone. Here's what their campaign says.
Not on whether or not Joe Biden stumbles over things or has a stutter. I mean, sometimes I can't even remember my kids' names because I'm so tired, right?
Wow. Your kids? How many kids do you have? Like 30?
So we got to stop. Let me just stop the nitpicking.
Okay,
and then focus on the work ahead. This guy
I don't disagree with you, but
he's done it in the past.
I get you on.
Wow. All right. So I don't know how many kids that guy has, but probably like 100 or something. So they are saying it's not a big deal. It's nitpicking. Leave Joe Biden alone. Stop being so ageist and ableist. Now, this was another funny reaction from this fella. And this guy's name is Hasan. And he's a live streamer and he does a lot of what we do, covers politics and stuff. But I think he covers it from the far left or whatever, communist. I don't know what his perspective is. You guys might know. But this was funny because he is watching this and having much the same reaction like we're watching. And so, in other words, this is how things look from the other side.
Do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president. But I think she's not qualified to be president. Let's start there. Number one. The fact is that...
That's how they were reacting. I think their side. I think he probably is going to vote for Joe Biden. I don't know. But pretty interesting. Pretty hilarious. I was laughing my butt off. I saw that. Like, oh gosh, I can imagine that reaction was probably all across America. All the lefties just going nuclear. Anyways, all right, so that's fun. We also have then now Chris Coons. He is Biden campaign's co-chair of the campaign and says, we're not covering anything up, okay? Leave us alone, all right? You guys know how Joe Biden is, and I agree with them, by the way. I think, of course, there is a cover-up. They've been lying to people about Joe Biden's actual capacity. But in addition to that, the media also doesn't have the excuse of just saying, we didn't know. We were so confused. We were just taking your word for it. We were trusting your judgment. No, you don't get to say that. So yeah, there can be a cover-up, and you guys can also be idiots and should know better, okay? We know there's a cover-up, but we also know Joe Biden's demented. So what are they covering up? His dementia. Okay, so they're not actually covering up much of anything. They're just covering it up from other idiots out there. Anyways, here is Chris Coons and the CNN getting into it.
There are some angry and stunned Democrats that are kind of blaming Biden's closest advisors for shielding from the public and for the full extent of what he has been going through, which they call the president's decline. One of the top Democrats in close touch with Biden's inner circle advisors told CNN, everyone who expresses any level of suspicion or contrary views, they call everyone and they beat the S out of them and say, stay on message. These are people who are trying to get a message to Joe Biden and they feel like they're not being heard. What do you say to them?
Well, Sarah, you can put anonymous quotes up here day after day after day, and I can tell you
it's not just anonymous, though, Senator. It's not just anonymous. People have come out full. I'll let you answer the question, but it isn't just anonymous. That was one person.
You didn't let me finish answering.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Sarah.
Go ahead.
No, you ask your question.
No, I just said it's not just anonymous. We've seen 17 members of Congress come out publicly and say this, including a high-ranking member, the top member of the Intel Committee coming out, Jim Himes. So what do you say to them? How do you convince them that Biden is the person that needs to have all the horses behind him?
Okay, now that's two different issues. Let me speak to the first and then the second, okay? You put out an anonymous quote that someone claims that Biden's aides are shielding him and beating the stuffing out of them when they try to express something. I was personally on a call that lasted well over an hour last Saturday where our president kept asking for input, asking for, give it to me straight, tell us what you're hearing. And I told him directly, I read him two texts, one from a longtime friend of mine and his, who is urging him to get out of the race, and another from a close friend and supporter who's urging him to fight hard and stay in.
Okay, so there is a split, and Joe Biden has the delegates, and he has obviously some support amongst Democrats. Here is another campaign spokesman. Her name is Adrienne Elrod, not wanting to address the collusion between Obama, Pelosi, Clooney, Hollywood. Obviously, there was an effort happening behind the scenes to sideline Joe, mutiny, an insurrection afoot in the Democratic Party. What does she say about that?
There's been reporting that former Speaker Nancy Pelosi has also grave concerns about the Biden candidacy, some of which she expressed on our earlier this week. Also, former President Obama, the same. What is the Biden's response to those two Democrats who, obviously carry a lot of weight, are well respected throughout the party?
Well, I think, again, President Biden's response to that is he's hitting the campaign trail today. Lemire, he's going to Detroit. He's going to talk to voters. We have nearly 3,000 people who will be at this event.
See, she's just like Joe Biden. She just starts talking about whatever she wants. He's representative. She's the same. It's not an age problem. They just think this way, their brains. So it's just my brain. It's just her brain. They just don't answer the questions. They just talk about whatever the hell they want. It's amazing. It's like, I guess they understand each other or something. So that's what she is saying. People are asking Newsom, hey man, are you going to run? Can you please come save us?
How do you handle all of that?
Delete. Thank you, delete. Rinse, repeat. I'm all in, no daylight.
You never even engage in it privately?
No, I don't. Absolutely not. I know one thing. Everything you do in private becomes public.
Oh, yeah, probably like what? Sleeping with your campaign manager's wife? Yeah, like that came public? Yeah, remember that? That was public for sure.
Even private thoughts seem to manifest publicly.
Yeah.
So not a chance.
All right, so he's not running against Joe Biden. No daylight. That's the guy that they're going to maybe run against everybody. Yikes. All right, so now Psaki has been out and about making the rounds and says that the entire Biden White House right now is in complete and total disarray. Meltdown, as we've been following. So here is her take on it. Former White House press secretary, the OG Karine.
Is the White House and the campaign ready for this moment, which is news is breaking every hour about the president and about your campaign?
They're leaking.
Are they ready for this? Because the last 3 years, I don't want to say have been easy because they're never easy, I know, but they've been nothing like this.
It's an interesting question because it's like, what does it mean to be ready for it, right? I mean, they have to be. They don't really have another choice. I think the question is, what is the plan moving forward? And I think 99% of them don't know the answer to that question, right? For all intents and purposes, if you're on the campaign in the White House, Joe Biden has said he's running. He's going to stick it out as a nominee. That is what you were planning to do. Is that what the result ends up being? I don't think we know the answer to that yet.
Have you been surprised how many leaks there have been in the last 2 weeks?
Yes, very surprised. It was not a leaky White House when I was there. And that shows you the frustration and disappointment and anger, which is
and maybe concern.
And maybe concern.
All right, so she said intensive. Just to be clear, she said intensive. Jen Psaki just got busted on that. So what the hell was the point that she was making? I don't even know. The question is, they don't know what the plan is moving forward. And I call balderdash on that, okay? That's ridiculous. They know what the plan is. The plan is Joe Biden's running for re-election. And he has been unequivocal about that. Yeah, and you're right. I am being a little bit too pacific on this one. More here. The question is about this Biden versus Obama Psyop. And they were talking about this on Fox News. Here were some questions about what's going on, saying it was just a meltdown between the two sides. Let's play this one.
Along with Nancy Pelosi.
The thing about the Obama relationship you have to understand is that Joe Biden deeply resents the fact of what he sees as Obama choosing Hillary Clinton over him in 2015. I was talking to a former Biden aide just this week about, could Obama try to talk him out of it running again if he decides that that's the best path forward? And this Biden aide responded, Obama already cast that chip once. You don't get another one. And I think there is this feeling within parts of Biden world, and I think President Obama understands this, that if he is aggressively seen as trying to push Joe Biden aside,
can't do that.
It could actually backfire and make Joe Biden dig in even more.
Molly,
because he got snubbed, because Joe got snubbed by Barack.
Agree?
Absolutely. And for many Democrats, it's the aftermath of the debate as much as the debate itself that has gotten them to feel so negative, because they feel like Biden has done virtually nothing to assuage their concerns. And not only that, the way that he's lashed out and divided the party is really damaging. Many Democrats, especially donors, I think, are really angry about the way the president has cast them as these elites who aren't in touch with the grassroots of the party. Now we see in polls that, in fact, a majority of the Democratic rank and file of Biden's own voters would like him to step aside, but he is...
Well, why did they vote accordingly, okay? Sorry, votes are over. They had all the knowledge that they needed right in front of them. They have seen Joe Biden in action for the last 3.5 years. They have one bad debate night, and we don't change everything. No, you guys knew what was going on, or you should have known. You had a responsibility to know. So the fact that you're just willfully ignorant doesn't mean you get to change horses at the last minute. Sorry.